On this episode, it takes three core things. Hey everybody, this is The Quarter Show, and we're talking about three core things. I was speaking to one of our newer sales reps today, and we were kind of going over what it takes to win, what it takes to get deals done, and things like this. And I want to go over three core things that I think are really, really critical. And when I look at my own sales day, when I've been working on sales or training the sales team and different things like that, these are the things that I think really are going to have a strong impact in your day and in your week in general. So here they are. Number one, make the most high intention decisions possible. Decision is kind of a sacred thing. So when you look at any individual deal you're trying to get closed, or you look at your lineup or the deals you're working on, you really have to decide, or even your target for that matter, you really have to decide, what are you going to do? So let's just say your target, defining your target for the week. You really have to decide to what that's going to be in the most clear way possible. And it's, to some degree, it sounds mystical, but the decision to do something or decide on something is completely vital. And even on the deal, like if you want to get a deal done, you have to really decide to get it done. You really have to make that firm decision that I'm doing this. This is happening. That's a really key point.
But you might fail.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. None of that matters. The senior piece of data is that you decided that it would happen. And there's a lot of information out there that supports what I'm saying here, but I put so much stock in the actual decision itself. If I want to close a deal, it starts with my decision to close them, right?
Yeah, an interesting thing is it gets into like penalty. Decision immediately comes to mind. Like you say, I'm going to make this quota this week, or I'm going to make this target, and the people immediately back off of the things that they say, or they set their target low because they're concerned with failing, or penalty, or like you said you would and you broke your promise. Like all sorts of weird stuff starts to come up when a person makes a decision of any kind in life that's positive. And then people get into really weird things like, I'm going to make $1 million this week, and like pie in the sky stuff that isn't really a decision, right? It's sort of an airy-fairy nothingness.
Because they know they're not going to do it.
Right? So the point of making a decision and making it first, and the most important thing, is make it the most that still feels like a game to you. Right? Making $1 million, it just ceases to feel like a game to most people. It just feels like nothing. It doesn't feel like anything at all. Making a certain lower amount feels like safety, and I probably won't break my promises if I tell my boss that I'll make blah blah this week. But there's no real penalty in saying, I'm making this, right? And it's a game, it's a target, it's something that you can see is doable for you. It might stretch your limits, right? Sandy Koufax is a pitcher for the Dodgers, and every game he made a decision not to give up any hits. And as soon as he gave up the first hit, that was the last hit that they were going to get. And they were getting no runs against him. And as soon as he gave up a run, that was the last run they were ever going to get against him. And he pitched like, I think, 3 or 4 no-hitters, a perfect game, one of the greatest pitchers of all time over a short few years. But that was his mindset coming into the game, was just pie. It's not pie in the sky. It's not like I'm going to strike out every single person. No one, anyway, that's just ridiculous, right? But he was like, I'm not giving up any hits. Now, he was the kind of guy that could do that. So it was a real target for him. It was a game. That would stretch his limits to the fullest to do that in any given game. And he went about that, and he did it 3 or 4 times in his career.
But yeah, decisions, it's not a conservative game. It's like you have to decide fully. And yes, it has to be very real. And we're talking with targets, but even with deals individually. You have to look at your deal and be like, I am closing this. This thing is happening. I'm closing this. And when you're there, when you've made the decision, whether it does close or it doesn't close, none of that matters. The point is that you decided that you're going to. So whether it does or it doesn't, like maybe 6 months from now you close it or whatever, the important thing is that you fully decide on something. It's really important that you decide. Number 2 is holding yourself accountable to your decisions. right? You have to decide, and then you have to hold yourself accountable to your decisions, right? So that means that when you make a decision, you need to commit to it. You need to hold yourself accountable to it. Like, you decided, and therefore you're going to go and execute and get it done, and you're going to hold yourself accountable to that decision. Like, I'm going to do 60 grand this week, right? You decided, and you write down 60 grand, I'm doing 60 grand, and then you need to hold yourself accountable to your decisions. And grab yourself by the scruff of the neck type thing and be like, we're doing this.
Yeah,
or,
there's no like getting tired near the end of the day, or it's so late in the week, or I don't have the lineup anymore, or such and such fell off.
Don't do it. Hold yourself accountable to your decision, right? Make a decision, then hold yourself accountable to it on individual deals. I'm closing XYZ company. Hold yourself accountable to it. Make the decision and then push yourself against it, right? And number 3, hustle your ass off to pull it off, right? And there's no other way to say it. You have to hustle and work at the level to make it all happen. You decide, you hold yourself accountable for it, and then you hustle, right? And I know hustle is kind of a cliche term out there, but it's like, whatever you want to call it. Do the work ethic, hustle, just whatever. It's taking it to epic proportions to go and make it happen and do the work that's required to hold yourself accountable to the decision to pull it all off, right? Because the truth is, even if you make the decision and you hold yourself accountable, you have real work in the real world that you need to do to pull it all off, right? And that means you have to call this person, do that, send this, do like the work level has to be there, and you have to hustle until you make it a reality.
It's funny. The final deal that I closed last week, it was I think 40 minutes until the end of our week, and that's when I received the request for the thing.
Yeah.
And I wrote and I said, there's the proposal. Da da da. He writes back, well, this is a lot of pressure and da 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 da. And I'm like, understood. Now I'm going to be pressure. I'm texting him. I'm texting and emailing his boss, and I'm texting him, and I'm in touch with my sales admin, and I'm getting proposals made and getting them sent over, and emailing him and sending proposals, and calling him, leaving a message, calling his boss, leaving a message, texting him some more. He's like, over to email now. I'm like, over to email. It's not fast enough to go back to text. And like 8 minutes until it was the end of the special and the end of our week, the paperwork was like, it was done and it was all handled and it was in. But it was like, that was a moment. I remember I was on Skype with my sales admin going, like, he picks up the phone and I'm like, company blah blah, change the number to blah 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 and send over to this person now. I have to go. Did you get the numbers? Yes. Okay, good. Click. Boom. Back to this. It was like
and then orchestrating approval and things like that, like getting the approval on the rates and everything like.
Yeah, and then I had to call you. I called Will and you and Devin and
but it's like
40 minutes, got it all done, wrapped up.
That's what it takes. And a lesser hustle, a lesser work would have like, came in after, or came in next week, or, it's like make the decision, hold yourself accountable to the decision, and then hustle at the right level to pull it all off. And that's going to make this this is your sales week. Like, this is how to do really well. Decide, accountability, hustle, right? Those 3 things are going to pull off your targets. They're going to get the deals done.
Yeah.
They really, really are. But a lot of people, just the very first step, a lot of people don't decide. They're just working, right? Like, I'm just hustling, I'm just working. It's like, that's useless.
That's why you asked me what my quota was.
Yeah, that's useless. I ask people,
yeah,
what are you going to do this week?
And it's funny how many times they can't answer right away.
They can't answer right away.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do this week? They're like, I'm going to do.
Well, I'd like to probably do this much.
I'd like to do it, and that happened today. That actually happened today. And this is where this came from. This is where I had a conversation this week. And I said, what are you going to do this week? Like, what are you going to do this week? He's like, I'm going to do, and he gives me a number. He's like, oh no, he goes, no, he didn't say I'm going to do. He said, well, I'd really like to do. That's what he said. I'd really like to do, and he gave me a number. It's like, okay, that's not going to work. Right? Like, you have to decide and say, I'm doing this. This is the amount I'm doing, right? Then you need to hold yourself accountable to that amount, up to whatever you're going to do. And then you have to go and hustle at the level and plan out. Hustle includes, like, what are you going to do? What's the plan? Who are you going to call? How are you going to piece this thing together? What are the actions you need to take against them? And then you need to go take the actions again to get it done. Mm-hmm. That's how you do it. And that's how you hit the goal. But instead, if you're like, well, I'd really like to do XYZ amount, let's say, And then you get to the end of the week and you miss it because you're going to miss it if that's your attitude. And you're kind of like, anyway, I just ended up with blah. It's always going to go that way, right? And you have to do the same commitment on each deal. Like, I'm closing this deal. Mm-hmm. How? Well, okay, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You work it out, you keep beating it up until you get it done. You decide, you hold yourself accountable to it, and then you go hustle to pull it off. You do the work to pull it off. Hustle, do the work, whatever you want to call it. But you've got to do the work required to pull it off in the real world in order to make it all happen. But it does start with a decision. If you've got really, whiffy-waffy, sort of weak decisions or no decisions, and you're just doing the work, like, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work out.
Yeah. You're just being a robot or a machine.
Yeah,
you'll get some products. You'll get some products.
You'll get some stuff, right? You're going to make some sales here and there, but it's never going to be what you want. You're never going to get the outcome you want. You're never going to get the results you want. You really have to start with, like, I'm doing this. These deals are closing, and you start there, and then you hold yourself accountable to those, and then you go do the work at that level.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That is the way it is.
Yeah.
Sort
of like Walter Cronkite there. That is the way it is.
That's the way it is. All right, hope that helps. We'll have more coming at you this week. I was out last week and things like that, so we'll try and double up on some of the episodes here. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this show down there by hitting the red button, and we will have more coming at you soon. Thanks for watching.